Well, we've talked about Hollywood, how Hollywood has been declining in the last couple of years. That I believe Hollywood is crashing. You see all these movies that are not doing well. You get something like the Avengers Endgame that does fantastic, but then you get a couple of other like 5 other films after it, and just basically just doesn't score nature. But before we start, don't forget, hit that subscription button, smash on that like. Very important. Thank you for those who have subscribed. Thank you for tuning in on this edition of Man with the Show on QTCast TV. Now, like I said, we've discussed this many times with many different movies. It's amazing how the industry has been working lately. I mean, you get movie like Alita Battle Angel, which is a fantastic movie. It's done very well for itself. It's 2 weeks after Blu-ray release, and it's still the number one Blu-ray on there. I haven't gotten the score lines on downloads, but it has to be doing just as well. And then you have Avengers Endgame. It's done very well. It's done phenomenal as far as that. And I've always said one thing is, when you create these movies, is to stop throwing politics first and then writing the story. You got to write the story. Let the story evolve itself. When you have, like I said, you have a good movie like Alita Battle Angel, written very well, directed by Robert Rodriguez, and Cameron had his 2 cents in that. But then you get other movies like this particular movie, which basically, it's not unheard of. We've heard of movies similar to this, but basically there is one addition to it, and we get this from One Angry Gamer, The Hunt. If you have not seen the trailer for this, I don't know if it's still up. I think they may have pulled most of the trailers down on this. I know last week, because of some of the things that were said in the TV trailers, the ESPN pulled the trailers offline, basically, because of what it is. From what it looks like, it's basically a group of elites that basically kidnap people and basically hunt them down. We've heard this stuff before, movies like The Running Man, The Most Dangerous Game. If you've never seen The Most Dangerous Game, it's a great movie. It's from 1937. You have other films similar that, was it The Naked Prey in 1965? Surviving the Game, 1994, which wasn't not that great. Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme in 1993. But, they tell you that there are Universal that pulled this, that there are movies like this, all the time that are coming out. Yes and no. You have to remember, when you write a story, don't interject the politics. Write the story. If there's politics in the movie, that's something different. When you write a movie like The Running Man and you say, well, it's similar to The Hunt and stuff like that. No, it's a dystopian type movie, basically in a dystopian world, and when you have something like that, it's very fictional. Now, when you have this, if you didn't see the trailer on this, and I'm not going to show the trailer here because it's basically, Universal will probably flag me for it for the hell of it. But even if I'm able to show it, it just literally, it's not worth me showing, because literally it is just a real stupid trailer, and some of the things they say. And you may say, well, what did they say on there? Well, the way that this is being portrayed, it's they're portraying it as left versus right on there, or blue versus red, if you haven't heard that one from the onlines on there. And what they're saying is that they're hunting sort of people who support Trump. And you may say, well, did they say that in the movie? I said, no, they didn't have to say it that way. But they were saying that basically they were deplorables. Where we've heard that before. We've heard that before during the 2016 elections, coming out of Hillary Clinton. They say deplorable. They're deplorables. And there was a line from one of I think it was Hillary Swank said in there, and she said, we have to take this country from these people, take it back for us, and it's, just sounds like you're hunting down people who don't agree with your politics. I mean, this is a Blumhouse movie. And, my wife, she loves the Blumhouse stuff, but we couldn't believe that they did something like this. But then again, it is Hollywood and the Hollywood elites. It's just like Silicon Valley. It's left-leaning. The real good movies out there are people who don't interject politics into the movies. They just make the story itself. And, when you get something to this nature, where Universal and Blumhouse green-lighted this to go, and then they put it out, and they put it out at the worst time, right after, during the El Paso situation, and you look at this and you're like, well, what are you doing? And then they're calling it a satirical horror. Okay, you're calling it a satirical horror, fine in that. But the way you're portraying your trailer, you're making it sound like, oh, we hate people who just disagree with us, and they should be hunted down like animals. And, you're going to put that emphasis in people's minds that way. That basically, you put a movie out like this, you got to be very, very careful. See, another movie that would be similar to that would be The Purge. And the way The Purge, it was made more toward a dystopia. And, people say, well, how can you say that, that's got to be pulled into politics. Yeah, they put politics into there, but they didn't name it to the way we have it today. It's to the situation, but they're toting guns and stuff like that. No, they were trying to eliminate the violence by purging all the feelings out of everybody in one day. This is not, saying like, oh, they made it legal every day. They're making it legal for one day. That's the way the whole movie roundabout came across. That basically, if you get rid of it, you'll be fine the rest of the year. That crime will be low, blah, 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 blah. But, still, when you have a situation like that, even you got to be with The Purge, you got to be very careful. How you portrayed it. The TV series doesn't portray very, very well. And I'm surprised they got a second season out of it. Because basically they're trying to interject those politics into the TV series itself. Where the movies, it doesn't really interject that way. Then you have The Hunt, which just came out, and which was supposed to come out. It was slated for 27. Universal now has put it on the shelf for now. Is it going to come out? The way they're saying, like, no, it's not going to come out. It probably will come out on direct to video. It'll be probably one of the streaming services will get it. You'll probably see it on Amazon, Netflix. Depends on you. Most likely to stay away from the controversy. It'll probably go to something like a Tubi TV or something like that. One of the other streaming sites. On there, and we'll probably not hear from it unless, when it hits TV, hits like an HBO or something like that. But, this is where we have to say, Hollywood, you're making these crazy movies, and you're rebooting so many. I mean, that's another video in itself, that they want to reboot everything. I mean, we're hearing Home Alone is going to get a reboot. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Event Horizon to get a TV series, and I say, has Hollywood really truly run out of ideas? I can't see how there it is. There are so many novels. There are so many people on YouTube that create their own mini movies. Why haven't they been tapped? And I'll tell you why I haven't been tapped. Because basically there's still those elites out there, the small little percent, and I call them 1%ers, that just basically want to interject, oh, we don't have enough of this this classification people in the movie or directing and doing all this. We have to have more. When you make a story and you're producing a story, I look at it to perspective is the person best suited to handle the job, the person that's best suited to act in the job is who I'm going to put into the movie. If I want a blockbuster movie, I'm going to hire, an A-lister. If I'm one of these big directors, I'm going to hire A-listers so at least someone can come see the movie. Especially if it's a subject that, a lot of people don't talk about too much. For example, that transgender movie they wanted to do with Scarlett Johansson. And people were like, no, we got to have a real transgender person in there. And they canceled the movie. Because, you're going to get an actor in there, a transgender actor. No one's really going to go see it. If you have a subject matter or a particular story that, it's going to do well, and you want it to just really get people's attention, you do hire someone, an A-lister. But also, you may have a really good story, but you want to find the really good actor for it, and you're going to do your due diligence to find the proper actors and actresses for this story, the proper director. You can't look into the perspective that say, okay, I'm going to hire X amount of people from this minority and X amount of people. No, you don't do it that way. It's always been you hire people that that's going to get the job done, and this is where we get mistaken in this country when they say, well, that's being racist. It says no, it's not being racist. If you have a company, you're going to hire good talent. If you want to give one particular person the chance to prove themselves, that's okay too. But you can't say, well, we got to throw the whole cast this way. No, because basically it's not going to work properly. We're seeing so many movies. We're seeing so many gender swap movies, movies where basically, like for example, Annie, such a good storyline that basically you had, young girl who was an orphan and she ends up being adopted by a rich guy. And then they were white, now they went to black. And the movie didn't do well. It just didn't do well. If you look at the box office, it did about 133 million, 85 domestic, 47 in the foreign. Now, you may ask yourself, you go look at the box office numbers for the original, and you may say to yourself, well, Zane, it did less. I said, no. Look in the perspective that this movie was released in 1982, the original. So, if number one, it was only released domestically, and it did 57 million for 82. That's not too bad, and it was nominated for 2 Oscars. On top of that, but if you adjust that to $1982 to 2019, that would reflect domestically well over $151 million. When you look at it, the perspective on there, dollar for dollar, 82 versus 2019. So when you look at it and you say, well, hey, it didn't do well. Yeah. It's not by much, but look at it domestically. Domestically, 84 million US on the newer version, and 150 million, over 150 million for the 1982 one adjusted dollars. So you see this on there, and then of course there were Broadway shows based on Annie, on that. It did excellent. But that's not the only movie that stuff like this done. And we've discussed before, like Ghostbusters and many other things. But not getting away from The Hunt itself, like I said before, when you interject politics into a movie, and you revolve politics as being your staple plate for the movie itself, it's not going to do well. Get woke, go broke. I hate saying it, but it's true. It is very, very true. But you may ask yourself, well, Zane, what if they did one where they were chasing the left down? It also would be wrong. Doesn't matter, left, right, either. You're creating an atmosphere that, you're going to cause some friction. I mean, one thing about when someone pitched this movie, they should ask, well, should we do it? And it says, the question is it correct to do it? Especially in this political atmosphere where you have a lot of people upset on a lot of things. And, you can't continue to attack. It doesn't matter, what you think. You can't keep attacking, people that don't agree with your positions. And that's what's been going on. We have this problem on YouTube. People don't agree with some of the stuff, and we get banned, or we get shadow banned, or we get pushed back. We don't end up in the recommendations line, And then when you sit here and then you put this movie back on the shelf, and then people start yelling, well, that's censorship and stuff like that. No. You got to be you have to be careful what films you write and when you put it out. The thought process is, it's controversial, the movie's controversial, it's going to make a lot of money. 20 years ago, I would have to agree with you. In today's atmosphere, no. It all depends on what the movie is about. When you have a movie like, for example, like the Planned Parenthood movie and the Gosner movie, which was basically very important information to get out on those stories, there's where you have people blocking it and saying like, wow, it's not right on there. But the thing is, these are stories that are being hidden. This is not something that, like The Hunt is not something that's being hidden. This is something that's out there. And you're causing a situation, whereas, like, in The Hunt, we've had a situation where a senator was shot at a baseball game by a Bernie Sanders supporter. This was back a bit. And you say to yourself, well, that's not really important that he's a Bernie Sanders supporter. Well, you can put it in that perspective, but, when you have something like a movie like this that comes out that says, well, we've got to shoot the deplorables, people who believe, what the president believes in and stuff like that, then you got to, you're issuing the same, dictating the same rhetoric that, that this other guy who shot the senator that basically believed in. Politics in movies should not be used as a base structure. If the movie is about politics, you have some great movies like Manchurian Candidate and Dr. Strangelove. I can go on and on and on. I mean, there were a lot of great movies about the White House politics and stuff like that, and it's done within a nature that it just revolves around the story. The story is what the story is, but it wasn't interjecting politics as using it as a propaganda, and that's what The Hunt was beginning to look like. Now, didn't see the movie, nothing of the nature, because it hasn't been put out yet. It could be just a couple words some people saying on there, but that's the words people will take to heart when they go see something like that. Maybe, Universal should go back and rerun the audio on the scripting on this and change the scripting and then release it, properly. Sometimes what you write, you have to always be careful what you write, because you never know. You might be just saying something like that, or maybe Universal did this purposely, because a lot of people do believe in Hollywood. Basically, they're just making these movies, just being political propaganda. So comment below. Tell me what you think of this whole situation. You'll find us on mindsandgab.com. Hit that subscription, hit that like button, smash it down. Tell me what you think. I'd like to hear from you. Thank you for tuning in on Man with the Show at Cuticast TV, We will see you tomorrow. And, hope you're enjoying the day. Hope you enjoyed the day, the weather. It's been a nice day today. We're getting to the end of the summer. I know some of you kids in certain places, you're back to school. No! Over here in New York, we still have about 3-4 weeks before we get back to school here. So enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you for tuning in at Cuticast TV. Have a good night.